Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight I'm going to bring you the first ever time anybody that I know of has broken 300,000 damage in Louisiana. Yeah, it happened already. This is my third ship that I've ever played and broken 300,000 damage in. And it happens in the best way possible. As you may have noticed, we're on two brothers and we spawned middle. Guess where we're going? Yeah, we're going to channel our inner flambass and go right up the middle. And yeah, this thing is disgusting. Now, you may have noticed at the beginning of the match, I went ahead and showed you guys that I changed my build. So, for those of you wondering, I am no longer using the commander for the battle carriers. I'm using William Sims, just a regular old free-to-play William Sims with free-to-play Paolo de Revel and free-to-play Andrew Cunningham. There's no fanciness there. It is literally just a straight-up accuracy build with a little bit of reload, and suddenly this thing wakes up like nobody's business. Now, I've seen a lot of people running New Jersey, and I want to give a shout-out to PG. PG Rapids actually was one of the ones that kind of like talked a little bit of sense into me. And by that, I mean I joined a stream one day, or yesterday, or day before, whatever it was. Joined a stream on Monday, and he talked about literally saying how the new commander doesn't make any sense because you buff in something that you only get to use once every minute and a half, and that makes perfect sense. Whereas your guns, you're using the entire time. So it makes more sense to buff your guns than it does to buff the airstrikes, and he's correct. And that's what led to this monstrosity of a game. So hopefully you guys are ready. As of the time of this recording, this is the highest damage I've seen anybody put out in the Louisiana. So let's get ready to party, and we'll see what went wrong for the red team in this one. Now, I do want to go ahead and say I apologize for those of you who might be hearing my voice sounds awful. I feel awful. I am not doing so well. But you can see this Columbo here is about to find a valuable lesson. I was wondering if he was actually going to move, and you can see I'm just like, okay, he's definitely not moving, so might as well just throw the torps out there and see what happens. This is the danger of these ships. You cannot any longer just sit still. One thing I will say is there's going to be a spike in people using their 6 torpedo hits, 25,979 damage, basically 26,000 damage with 1 torp drop. They're going to end up probably rolling back the torpedo damage a little bit, if I had to guess, because these torps are disgusting. Now, we didn't get any floods there, but these torpedoes do cause some floods. And there was another argument to be made for people saying that, well, maybe it'd be a good idea to use HE. And to this, I give a shout out to Metajerk. He makes a good point. If you use HE to set fires, and then you know how often people like to damage con a single fire, and then you come in with these torpedoes and get the permaflood. We all know permafloods are disastrous for your hit points. You can heal it back if you survive, but it is disastrous. So if you want to stack up some damage, potentially, I'm not saying it's the right play to necessarily go for HE, but it's a strategy, right? So shout out to Metajerk. I will leave links to their channels. You guys know this down in the description below, both Meta and PG. So if you guys are interested in seeing what they do, they are definitely much better players than I am. But I just happen to have a little bit more fun. But we are in the middle of the map now. Right off the bat, we don't really have anything to do here, so we're just waiting until we get opportunities to use our planes. Now, I was trying to hit the cruiser right next to me, and the moment I decide to attack that man with those torpedoes, he takes off. And that is the one downside of these torpedoes. They do take a while to get there. So if anybody changes what they're doing in the time it takes for the torps to get there, as we slap the crap out of this Kurfürst, and that's where you love those beautiful American Mark 7 16-inch guns. Like, oh my God, they're so good. You want to go broadside? No problem, sunshine. We'll slap you. You want to try to bow tank? No problem. We'll torp you. Like, this thing is disgusting, and I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're going to probably end up toning these back just a little bit, because I've heard they're pretty nasty at every single tier. I haven't played the lower tiers yet, but as you can see, there's another back-to-back 20k damage. We've hit this man for over 40,000 damage in 2 salvos with just the front guns. That is nasty. Now, obviously, any American ship with the Mark 7s can do this, and so it doesn't necessarily have anything in that regard over, say, the Montana, but it is still hilarious that you get the fantastic accuracy as well as the ridiculous torpedoes. Now, I want you guys to pay attention. Obviously, this is not the right necessarily play to win here because of the fact that it is a domination match, and both flanks are going to collapse on our team. But I look at it and I say, well, what more can I do here? You know, I was going to drop the torps on that guy again, and then I realized, you know what? I've got bigger fish to fry here. That Salem is way too agile to get out of the way. I don't want to waste any more of my torp drops on him. However, if I can push forward and get a good spot here to torp the Kerfers, one of the biggest trade-offs that you get when you go from the standard commander for the battle carriers to William Sims is the range on your torp drops. So instead of 15.6 kilometers of range, you only get 14 kilometers of range, which is a much bigger deal than you think. But with my aggressive playstyle, it really didn't hurt me too much, especially in a match like this where it's a relatively small map. You can see I go ahead and shoot at him, get a pretty good chunk. Montana's actually in a great position here, and he's going to punch straight through the cheek and citadel me. And I've heard a lot of people saying, well, the citadel on this thing is extremely low, and it's probably not going to get hit all that often as we get a not a permaflood, a flood, and 6 more torp hits on this Kerfer. The Kerfer is like, what the hell did I do wrong? Did I kick a puppy in a previous life? This is ridiculous. This thing is destroying me. Well, Kerfers, let's be honest, everything destroys you, especially if you're just sailing around broadside like a numpty. You're welcome. But as the Montana is the biggest threat at the moment, we are going to turn to angle against both of these guys. This is why it's good to set up crossfires. He had the crossfire initially, but I have a little bit of a corner that I can back around here to limit the engagement, right? So now, instead of having 2 ships shooting at me, I only have the 1. And I'm angled pretty well against him. Now, if he knows how to shoot this thing, by the way, if you want to shoot and do damage to this thing, shoot high and go for like superstructure / upper raised deck, okay? You'd be surprised how much damage you can do by getting penetrations through the flight deck, okay? But Montana is about to find out a valuable lesson once again of why you can't just sit broadside. I don't understand why people think that this is a good idea. Now, unfortunately, we don't get a very good RNG roll, but we are about to get our torp drop back, and he is starting to speed up, so we're going to go ahead and drop those ahead of time, get those on their way, and ideally, you want to be dropping these torpedoes every single time you hear those planes take off, or you want to be dropping the torpedoes within moments of the planes taking off. We don't hit all of the torps here, we only hit 4 of them. But we do get a flood, and we're going to go ahead and take a shot as he's trying to turn away. And you can see the enemy Louisiana, as we citadel him, the enemy Louisiana is trying to hit me as well. But we didn't sit still, we're reversing, and we dodge his torpedo drop. It was not a particularly good drop by him. And considering the Louisiana is on my right, it's hard for him to drop me in any other real way. Now, as he comes around to the front, it'll be a different ballgame, because then he'll have the opportunity to drop from the left side, and then I'm in a world of trouble, right? But as these guys have taken themselves completely out of my influence, I have to push forward, and we have the Montana deciding to come forward. He officially wants me dead. Now, you'll notice I do have a cruiser that has jumped in here, and I believe it's the Vallejo, but I could be wrong. There's definitely an SAP cruiser right next to me, so somebody has joined us in the middle. And here you can see Montana shoots at my guns, knocks my guns out, and that's actually a good play. If you can get rid of the guns, that's huge. But again, if you just shoot just above the guns into that superstructure / raised flight deck, you can get some serious damage out of this thing pretty easily. And it doesn't seem to get saturated as quickly. You can see one of the weird things about these drops is the fact that it keeps like trying to auto lead. So every time you adjust, it changes your lead, and that can cause you to miss torps. But one good turn deserves another. He breaks my gun, I break his gun. Just showcasing that we're the same, but we're not, because I just absolutely walloped him with torpedoes. Didn't quite get the kill, but we did manage to slap him and take him down to very low health, and in the next shot I should be able to finish him off if the guy behind me doesn't manage to do it first. But as he opens up the angle, we go ahead, take a shot into the superstructure, and we finish him off. Kurfürst, on the other hand, says, I want some too, and he decides to come rushing in, and we've already done 222,000 damage, and you can see those torpedoes are starting to come through from the left now, which means that Louisiana is a lot closer to being out in front of us than you'd expect, which means I'm in trouble, because I can't just sit here forever, right? And speaking of Louisiana, there he is. Now, as I want to shoot this guy, fortunately, the Vallejo behind me actually ends up taking him out, which is huge, because now I get to focus this Louisiana. And now, it's Louisiana versus Louisiana. He has all of his hit points. I have half of my hit points. I've used all of my heals. And so, at this point, as we Citadel Louisiana, and again, this is what I'm saying. A lot of people are like, it's so hard to Citadel this thing. No, it's not. It's just like any other American battleship. If you get caught, yes, the Citadel is technically at the waterline, but I'm telling you, any shells coming in at any sort of range is going to be able to pin and absolutely Citadel you. But he actually takes a shot at the Vallejo to my left, so we're going to try to push the issue here. You can see he's already trying to run away. We've already dropped our first drop on him. He is turned away, and we're only going to catch him with 2 torpedoes, unfortunately. But we run aground as we try to get into the cap here. We've done everything in our power to give our team a chance, but our team has fumbled pretty hard. But I want you guys to pay attention to what's going on in the top left corner of the map. We have 2 destroyers back there, right? Those 2 destroyers have to deal with a cruiser, another destroyer on the enemy team, and then the battleships that are up there in the top left corner. And here you can see I'm in trouble because this guy gets the perfect drop to slap me. Fortunately, I did shoot down a couple of them before they dropped, so it was only 4 torps. But as he goes dark, so do we, meaning he can no longer potentially drop us. And so there's no reason for me to fire here. We can get the cap. Now, obviously, getting the cap here doesn't do us any good. We're down by a lot because they've had cap control the entire game. But the goal here was simple. By paying attention to the top of the map, we know that our destroyer is in trouble, and we look over, and the Ohio is just outside my range. You can see as I'm looking at his range right now, you can see my Ohio that I'm about to attack as the Colombo gets flooded to death. The Ohio is just outside my range, so I end up placing the torps out ahead of him, and he's going to end up between the 2 of him and the destroyer. They're going to end up killing the destroyer on our team. And he probably thinks he's okay. And about that time is when I poo-poo on his parade and drop the bombs on the torps, and down he goes. So that's just what you can do with these things. You don't always have to be everywhere. And that's the danger of these things, really. Because if you're in a situation like that where you're winning your side, you've got to be cognizant. If there's a Louisiana or any of these battle carriers in the game, at any given moment, you could be in range to get absolutely punished by those torpedoes. So you've got to be on your toes, which is why I think a lot of people are probably going to be switching over to running propulsion mod more often. Now, most people probably do run propulsion mod. I personally don't, because I have a tendency to always be moving, except in this match because clearly I was in the middle. But you can see this guy doesn't do a very good job of leading his torpedoes, and we're going to reach through the bow side plating and slap him. The rear guns have already fired as well. We got to try to turn away here. I'm hoping that he doesn't slap me and kill me, but it very well could. We're about to get reloaded. This is where Palo de Revel is going to come in handy, but as we turn away, he gets 1 or 2 pins through the side of my ship. So not a very good RNG roll by him. But we're going to go ahead and fire a little high, and then set him up for a torpedo drop, but the high shot is going to be enough to get him low enough for the Vallejo to finish him off. And so, with that, we've done everything we can, and I just thought maybe there's a chance. We've done everything that we can. We've cracked the 300,000 damage barrier. Maybe there's a chance that the enemy gets a little bit crazy and decides to go up the middle. You can see I'm located. Clearly, I'm the closest thing to the enemy. We know they just captured the Bravo caps. So there's a chance that they kind of walk into the middle of the map. Maybe they're getting a little bit aggressive. We only have a minute to go, and might even be less than that if they get points, because they do have 3 caps. So I'm going to try to put myself in a position to counter. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain here. If I can kill the cruiser, if we can catch the cruiser or the destroyer, I mean, I'm going to assume that the destroyer got hit at some point. But we don't have our planes, unfortunately. And we do actually catch the cruiser coming out into this gap. He got a little bit aggressive, and we get him spotted here. And unfortunately, he's already reversing. He thought better of it, which is a good thing for him, because I was about to send him to the Shadow Realm. But he gets around the corner. We get 1 overpin, bringing our total damage up to 305,189 damage. But unfortunately, we are going to lose. We had 30 secondary hits. We shot planes down. We ended up with 26 torpedo hits, which is absurd. 305,000 damage, high caliber. Top of the leaderboard with over 2,000 base XP and a loss, which is absurd in its own right. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you enjoy this? Are you enjoying the battle carriers as much as I am? And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.